aquarianradio.com.
Aloha, this is Enki. You know me as Aquarius, and this is our age, the Sata Yuga. Time to celebrate with us. We have programs on all chakra tantra, love styles and relationship choices, counseling strategies and techniques that you can use at home. We have extraterrestrial radio where we deal with alienology, paranormal people, and we have an experiencers network. We have a section called Ancient Aliens, and the programs therein are Enki Speaks, Nimma, the Mother of Humanity, has her program, and we revise ancient anthropology. And most important of all, we have peace paradigms, because this is the age of peace.
Harmony and understanding, sympathy and trust abounding. No more falsehoods or derisions. Golden living dreams of visions, mystic crystal revelations, and the mind's true liberation.
Aloha, Dr. Sasha Lesson here. I'd like to tell you about our Experiencers Network. Reality is like an elephant. We all grasped different parts of this elephant, but reality is also a holographic entity where we are in everything, every molecule of the universe, and every molecule of the universe is in each of us, but we're each at a different angle. The light of the Creator of all runs through every consciousness. And in this program, we learn how to bring that in, how to deal with the spirits of the departed, how to help demonic attachments look inside and see that they too are of the light, how to channel and how to bring in higher energies, all these things and lots more.
As an experiencer, I explain how you can go from abductee to contactee. Invite contact and begin to participate as a partner in the Galactic Federation of Love and Light. We interview guests, share their stories, connect pieces of the eternal puzzle of life. To register as a guest, go to aquarianradio.com. To participate and explore, sign up at our website at experiencersnetwork.com.
And here are your hosts, Janet and Dr. Sasha Lesson.
Aloha, this is Dr. Lesson here. Today's program is dealing with the spirits of the departed. For as long as humanity has left any oral or written records, we know that people stay in contact with those who died, and lots of other spirits too. But today also when we do past life regression, we see that in past lives many people will realize that they were still being communicated to with spirits that had departed in that life. And each one of our sub-personalities, as I regress them in hundreds of therapy sessions, each of the different sub-personalities when regressed to past lives could relate to different spirits that were present for them. And as I work more and more with people, I realize that almost everybody, however they formulate it, does have those contacts with people that died. Maybe you think about somebody, or you say, what would Dad have said, or what would my doggy have done? Whatever it is, they're still alive to you in some sense. And so in real depth, open consciousness kinds of counseling, we don't deal with the quotes reality status of what a person comes out with. What we want to do is just let people simple things in their own way. And so when we're dealing with the spirits of the departed, there's several different kinds of things to deal with. One is, what is the spirit, if it seems external to the person, trying to communicate, or what does it want and need, and what does it want to say? And then the other thing is, what part of the person receiving this message from a spirit of someone that died, what is that the part of the person that receives that want to do with it, and so there's an interaction between a subpersonality, say a spiritually open subpersonality, and a spirit that's outside of the person. And then we get a third entity for a lot of people, which is the critical one that says, you better not say anything about this, or people are going to be down on your case, and so you have to and oftentimes deal with another subpersonality that says, how much of this should I keep private? How much can I share, and with whom? And then ultimately, we ask each person to consult their own inner guide, their own inner counselor, and say, what has this experience with this departed, or the overall experience with departed spirits, contributed to my life, and how can it be of assistance to me in my growth? So that's sort of the framework in which we work. And so today I'm going to be interviewing somebody that's been working with spirits her whole life, and it's been way profound working with her. Not only does she learn a lot, but as the person that tarries with her, as her psychotherapist, I've learned a lot. So Janet Kira-Lessin, my co-host today, is going to be interviewed by me on her relationship with spirits of the departed. Janet.
Hi. Well, it's true. I have been dealing with entities, spirits, discarnates, extraterrestrials, interdimensionals. Not sure what they are, but each individual entity being is different from the others. So we've been working with me trying to differentiate who is what and when, where, and how. So it all started when I was very, very young, and I would see different ghosts, I called them, at the foot of my bed. Some I identified later, like my grandmother. I didn't know who was the old lady standing at the foot of my bed, but over time my mother would show me pictures of Grandma, or she would just be showing me pictures, and I said to her, wow, that's the lady at the foot of my bed. So that was a validation there. Sometimes I would be so confused and wanting to prove it, to validate my own sanity, that I would invite girlfriends over to, I couldn't have boyfriends at that age of young, but I could have sleepovers. And I would talk to my girlfriends, the ones that I trusted and felt safe with, and I'd say, there's ghosts in my house. Some of them would go, oh, yeah, right. But other ones would say, oh, really, I'd love to see them. So I'd say, okay, if you want to come over and do a sleepover, ask your mother and I'll ask mine, and we'll see what happens. And almost all of them saw something. Some of them never came back again. Because the occurrences, I had the front bedroom, which was a curiosity to me. Why didn't my parents give me the largest room in the house? Well, that's because that's where grandmother died. And that was the part of the house where there was the attic above it. And there were all these noises in the attic at night. I mean, loud noises. Like my mother had these huge trunks like people used to use for traveling in the 20s, 30s, 40s. They didn't have suitcases back then. They had these trunks they would take on cruise ships. And she had some of these huge trunks up there, and you could hear them being moved across the room at night. So it was very interesting. Sleeping downstairs from that, I'd awaken, I hear these incredibly loud noises, and often see people at the foot of my bed. Sometimes it would last for hours. I would see an entity, or like a ghost, I guess you would call it, foot of my bed, and I'd say, okay, go away. And I'd have a little dialogue. I'd say, okay, I'm going to cover my head, and then I'll, please go away. I'm just going to go away. And I would cover my head, and then a long period of time would go by, and then I'd take the blankets back down, and the being did not leave. So anyway, that was kind of my early years. Do you have some questions for me, Dr. Lessin?
Yeah, what I'm probably to get to the most interesting thing to me right now is when you encountered the departed spirit of Michael Jackson, because so much fantastic information and opening has come from this. I'd like you to talk about that, please.
Yeah, it was very interesting. So I had this entire life, and I learned that I had to kind of shut it down, and because it was just invading my waking life. And I asked my guides or source or God to have these episodes less and less. So part of it happened when I moved away from the house that I grew up in. So I didn't have as many off the charts strange things happening when I finally moved out of the house. And I got out when I was 18. But that was many years ago. I'm now 59. So here we are back in 2009 when Michael Jackson died. The day he died, I was in a deposition. I don't know if any of you listeners out there have been deposed, but it goes on for days. And so Dr. Lesson had been deposed in the morning, and it's quite an interrogation because you feel like it's almost like a witch trial. And you're sweating bullets, and you're just wondering what they're going to ask, and what are you saying wrong, and what can they use against you, and what can they use against anybody you know and love. And so it's really a strange situation. So he left, and I was next. So during the lunch break, one of the attorneys came in and said, "Oh my goodness, I just turned on the news, and Michael Jackson is dead." And all of a sudden, we were all the age that Michael Jackson influenced us in some way or the other. Most of us were a little bit older, somewhere around his age, a little bit younger, but definitely of the age where Michael and his music had some kind of influence over us and sparked some kind of memory. So we spent about 10, 15 minutes talking about how Michael had affected our lives and, what had happened, speculating, all kinds of stuff. And then everybody put on their lawyer hats, and then I was on the hot seat. And so about a year or so before that, I had a tachycardia anxiety attack where my heart was racing, and I was in the emergency room, and it's quite dangerous. So you've got to get your heart back to normal pace or you could die. So I start getting barraged with questions, and my heart starts racing. And I'm going, oh my goodness, can I control this? And they taught me a way of breathing, and I was trying to breathe in amongst all this interrogation, but I couldn't relax enough to get into it. And I'm going, do I stop? What do I do here? If I just power through this, can I get through this? Because I didn't want to have to come back again. So all of a sudden, my heart's getting racier, and I'm going, well, how do I stop this? What do I do? I was just, there was my inner dialogue, and then the constant, I had to pay attention to the questions and what I was saying. And all of a sudden, Michael's voice was external. It wasn't really his voice, but it was like his energy came in and basically conveyed to me, just tell them, if you don't stop now, you're going to faint. I'm going to faint, or I'm sick. That's what he said. I said, I'm sick. I'm feeling very ill. And apparently that was a magic word. Maybe because Michael had been deposed, he knew what to say. And but it was hardly the thought, the impulse, and Michael's energy, and the words coming out of my mouth were almost simultaneously. And it's like, I've got to stop right now, or I'm going to be very sick right here. And that was the magic words. And it was like I had spoken, this command word, and everybody just stopped. And they gathered their things, and they said, we'll do this another time. Which, what happened was, another time never came. So they never finished the deposition. It was a very magical intervention by wonderful Michael Jackson. But an interesting thing happened was, I was driving home. Now, if I have to give a little background, Michael is, I think, 5 or 6 years younger than me. I was born in 54. I have to look it up when he was born. Anyway, he's a few years younger. So I had been married the whole time. He was kind of a sex symbol type of thing, and so I wasn't a fan. I wasn't really a fan. I didn't pay attention. I hadn't listened to his music in years. Heard it occasionally on the radio now and again, but not in my daily life. So all of a sudden, Michael's songs are playing in the back of my head non-stop. So I'm driving home, and there's all these Michael Jackson songs just going over and over and over. And I get home, and I try to ignore it, just go through my evening and have dinner and watch a movie or something with my husband on DVD, and, quiet time enjoying my beloved partner. And there's this music going on, and I go to sleep. And it's going the entire time. I fall asleep. I wake up, go to the bathroom. I always wake up in the night, go to the bathroom, and it's Michael Jackson's music playing. So finally morning comes, and I says, honey, Michael Jackson is haunting me. I cannot get his music out of my head. So that was on a Thursday. So Friday we had a busy day, had to do things, and Sasha said, "Well, if it doesn't quit, we'll do a session and see what Michael's trying to tell you." And lo and behold, another all-day Friday, Michael Jackson's music. It's almost like torture at this point, although I love his music. It was funny. And all night long, once again, there's Michael Jackson. So somewhere around midday, we finally turned off the phones and laid down and did a hypnotherapy session. And do you have any questions? Okay, so as soon as I was in a trance, put under, Michael came in like this incredible energy that just overwhelmed me, and I literally had to I sat up and put my head down.
Did you see him?
It's not with your eyes. It's the vision that you see is in your mind's eye. That's the best way to put it. And when I saw Michael, he was like kind of being caressed or coddled or held like a baby by Farrah Fawcett, who had just died, I think, a couple hours before he did. Or they crossed over right together there, and she was holding him from behind, and he was weeping. And so he started to tell us what was going on with him. What do you remember about what I said? Do you remember anything? No. Okay. I'll just go ahead.
He didn't intend to die, is what you said.
Right. So he was surprised that he was dead, and he wasn't finished. He wasn't finished with life. So that's what makes me think that it was an accident. It was not a suicide. He was totally shocked to be dead. He wanted to have a much longer time in physical realm, but he also was feeling that he wasn't very loved or respected or something. So we went together around the planet, and he and I were in our light bodies, and we were just traveling at the speed of light around the planet and kind of looking in on all the reactions. Anywhere there was Michael's name evoked or energy around him, we were there. It's strange to explain in third-dimensional physical, reality what was going on, because this wasn't third dimension. This was higher energy. And so while there was only a couple minutes passing on this realm, what Michael and I were doing was really going around and seeing everything and visiting everywhere, while only a few minutes were going by in real time. So it's kind of like what Santa Claus does, right? So here we were, and it was an interesting phenomenon to experience, because it was way beyond anything I could ever conceive of that you could. But I guess that's what they talk about. God can see everything everywhere all the time. And so when you're not limited to, and I'm not talking about God of, the Bible God, but kind of like Source or the Creator of all, or the oneness. Oneness is everywhere and sees everything and gets it all. And so he got it all. And it wasn't just on one level of seeing, but it was hearing and smelling and feeling. It was an energetic feeling level. So he felt everybody. And I guess that's what the life review is like. So I was going through his life review with him, and he was feeling everything that everybody in the world was feeling about him at that time, and tears were just running out of my eyes, and I was sobbing and crying for him. It was like he was coming through me, and how do you say? You say allow them to come through without. Used you as his voice. Go ahead. Say what you say.
You just when a spirit wants to come, you just say, "You may use my vocal apparatus to speak, but not take me over." So that's your deal. You can. I'll say the words you want me to say, and I won't let you take me over. Is that a deal?
Right. So that's what the deal was, and so I was there participating the entire time. And it was like I had put my consciousness up on a shelf, and it's literally like, it feels like it's right up on the right-hand side. My consciousness is just a hair outside of my right ear, kind of sitting on a shelf. and I'm still like a tendril is attached to my body, so I feel everything. I'm still breathing. I guess that's the cord, the astral cord. The astral cord is still attached to my body, and my body's still my body. It's not taken over. There's no fear. It's total peace, calm, total and complete unconditional love, total empathy and compassion. And so there I was, speaking on behalf of Michael, and Dr. Lesson was doing therapy with Michael Jackson, trying to help him cope with being out of his body and being shocked and surprised and experiencing everything that's happening around the world on an energetic, emotional level for him, and helping him heal psychologically and spiritually.
What we do is, with the spirit like that, we have them bring before them, or see what's happening with their body and how people are reacting. That's the first part. And then to bring before them any people that they felt like they harmed, and any people that harmed them, and have a discussion in the interlife, in the bardo, about the scripts, the karmic scripts, and what their implications were for this life, and what could be learned, and whether the spirit is ready to look to the golden hand extended from the higher realms, or whether it still had some missions here in the intermediate plane, or back in the material plane.
Well, what he clearly conveyed in session 1 was that he did not want to leave this realm. He was not ready even to leave the Bardo realm, that there was too much going on, and he was going to stay until he didn't even know when. He didn't understand where he was going to. I bet you they had a hell
of a band.
A heaven of a band. But I remember he showed at one point, he gave us a gift. He gave me a gift, at least, and I conveyed it to you. So we entered into what was like a huge, long, flat, it was kind of black. The whole room was black, but very illuminated very slightly. There was no like lamps or anything. It was just illumination. So you could see that there was a wall at the far side, and you could see just the shapes of things. And on the far wall, and there was quite a space, I'd say it was, like equivalent about 20, 30 feet away. But he was allowed to show me in the far wall, like a door opened, and there was a light behind it. And out stepped 4 characters, four, and I didn't know who it was, 4 people. But then we zoomed in on it, and it was June and Bill and Irv and Irma. It was my mother and father, June and Bill, who died in 97 and 99, and Irv is Sasha's father, and Irma. And the 4 of them were hanging there, and all they could do was kind of beam love, and they waved. But Michael was explaining, that's your parents, and there is no death. They're just right there. And so, but he says, I'm not ready to go over there, so that's why it's so far away, because he didn't want to cross over, but he had an awareness already just a day or so out of his body. He had an awareness that there's a place to go, but he wasn't ready to go yet. So that's what happened there. And then the other thing that stands out in my mind, and we did not record this, I wish we did, but it's okay. I'll have to just focus more on what I remembered. So there was a point where where Michael was thanking Dr. Les and was very appreciative. He was apologetic, and I'm so sorry for doing this, but I need to talk to somebody, and thank you, Dr. Lesson, for letting your wife, let me speak through her. And so he was very polite, apologetic.
It's an old Eskimo custom.
Yes, and I didn't know, was it my voice, or was my voice altered or something?
Oh no, you sounded like Michael.
Okay, so I sounded like Michael, and I didn't know much about Michael, but the final thing happened in this episode. And if I recall more, I'm going to start writing. Different mode in interview. I think I remember more when I write. But anyway, what happened was we went back to Farrah. Farrah had kind of stepped out of the scene. And he said thank you, and he was ready to leave. And he asked if he could come back again, which we said yes. So we agreed to have another session. So Farrah comes over, and she speaks through me. And she says that, thank you for helping Michael, that we need therapists when we're dead. We need people to train so they know how to speak to the dead, because there's all kind of people over here. And they can't move past, and they're trapped. She says, and don't worry about me. I'm fine, because I prepared myself for this. Unlike Michael, he was shocked that he was dead, but I knew I was dying. And I did my work. I prepared myself, mind, body, soul, spirit. And I actually am going to go now, because there were people calling to her, and she was ready to go over. And so she didn't give me any specifics about who was calling for her. But I was aware when she spoke of that, things happen kind of instantaneously. So, and you have to realize that once you're out of your body, you're no longer confined to a physical form. So some people kind of appear misty, or just like light or energy, or maybe a slight resemblance to what they looked like before. But it's not a firm 3D form like what we have. So she said thank you, and she felt that now Michael was stabilized, and she was thankful, grateful that we were going to work with him in the future, and that freed her, because she was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be stuck around here while he's and she loved Michael, but she just was being so called into joy and pure bliss and wanting to get on with her existence. I can't say life, she was dead. So then she left. And then I think you brought me out of the hypnotized state, and then we just had a nice rest of the day. Okay, so what questions do you have for me?
Okay. I would like you to step out now of being Janet the whole person, and let yourself move physically a little bit and become the part of Janet that is receptive to allowing these kind of contacts. The part that is able, I would call it the psychic part, or what do you call this part? Move into it and tell me what kind of a energy you are, the part that can receive spirits of the departed.
Well, that's so interesting. I don't really, I'm not comfortable with the term psychic, but I guess that is a psychic ability to be
Channeler,
able to,
maybe, or
I'm
no?
not really comfortable with the term channeler, because there's such a negative connotation with channeling. It's just contact. It's
okay. So the part that contacts. That's it. That's a good one.
Right.
Contactor.
I'm a contactor, and I it's just like you pick up a phone and talk to somebody, or you email, and it's more like a chat or Skyping.
Well, a contactor. Tell me what is the job that you do for Janet? How do you contribute to Janet, contactor?
Well, I keep her connected to her eternal self, because being alive in a physical form limits you, is a limitation to your total potential as an eternal being. So when I am discarnates and people in other dimensions, beings, I should call beings, I'm not even sure if they're animal, vegetable, mineral, what they are, but beings in other dimensions, like ghosts and extraterrestrials and interdimensionals, can see me, and they can see me seeing them. They know that I sense them. And I'm not talking about seeing in terms of my eyes in my head, but seeing in terms of sensing. I sense them. And that escapes humanity, because we're so limited to our 5 senses. So it is the psychic realm, because that's what we call the 6th sense or more. But it's more than...
So what brought you out so strongly in recent times?
Well, it was suppressed for a good part of my life.
You
and
were
then,
suppressed. Janet wouldn't
this
let you
part,
out.
Yeah, this part of Janet, I was suppressed because it wasn't safe in my life, because of the criticism from other people. And I suspected that many people out there have natural abilities, and from the moment of birth, or their parents or their peers suppress these natural abilities.
Yeah, so just stay as the contactor, because
right.
we really...
So I was suppressed.
You were suppressed, and Janet decided to let you out somehow. She wasn't being intimidated anymore by other people.
I feel safe being with you, Dr. Lesson, because you're willing and accepting of hearing information that's out of the human condition box. So you're open-minded.
Contactor, one thing I just can't resist asking you is, if you were going to contact someone that is departed, right now, that would benefit you in your life, and Janet in her whole ecology, whom would you contact?
I really don't have an answer. Besides, we're working with extraterrestrials, but I don't have a specific one I'd contact at this moment. And it kind of doesn't work with this being on the radio and in this intellectual mode. I have to put my intellect aside.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just show you. That's fine. If I were to say identify with an archetype that would be worth identifying with for me, I might identify with Enki, which and have a very empathetic understanding of the universe and the way it works, or something like that.
Right, and the main persona I identify with, and now I'm not, contactee is a part of Janet, and Janet and I are in alliance with this, is the energy of Nimma in Harsag, because she is the mother creator of Earth, and she's a humanitarian, and she loves humanity, and she loves this planet, and she wants to see it reach its fullest potential, and she wants to see her Lulus, the human beings, reach their fullest potential. So that is the being that I identify the most with, my archetype, my guiding myth, guiding guide.
You're speaking now as Janet, the whole person, I take it.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is really hard for me to do on the radio.
Yeah, okay. So I can do it with myself if it's difficult for you, although it would be very interesting if you were to assist Janet and let Janet...
so what's your next question?
The next question is, if you were to move into the part of you that at times inhibited you, or says don't talk about this ability, that part of you, would you be willing to move into that place and identify with the part of you that resonates with the critics that would punish you if you spoke up?
Okay.
So physically move then.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so what kind of a sub-self are you? What kind of a energy
Well, I'm
are
a
you?
protector.
You protect her.
Right. So she doesn't get clobbered in life.
What brought
physically
you
or
up?
emotionally.
When did she get clobbered for talking about this stuff?
When she was very young, because her mother was extremely critical, because Janet's mother talked to Ghost herself. And she didn't know how to deal with, am I crazy or not crazy? But Janet would catch her mother having a conversation, and this was a real entity, because when June wasn't around, this person would play the piano, and so it was. Janet walked to her bedroom, which had a piano, and it was the largest room upstairs, and it had been the grandmother's drawing room where she sat, and I think she slept there. But it was a large room, so half of it was a piano, the piano. So, and then recently, Janet revisited this phenomenon with her brother and sister, and her brother, who is 7 years older than her, witnessed the piano playing all the time, years before she was born. So this piano was playing by itself with nobody in the room, and he too witnessed her mother talking to somebody, but being aware, what Bill had said, he walked around the corner and saw a person standing there. And it was not a three-dimensional form. They're more transparent. It's just like you see in many of the pictures. They're transparent, so you can actually see the wall or the dresser or the stairs behind them through them.
So what I understand is happens. You move from the part that
so I saw my mother talking with this being, and she was, as soon as I poked my head around the corner and I heard Mother talking, and I snuck behind and saw her talking to somebody who was transparent, who was a woman, who was the lady that stood at the foot of my bed. Get up to the mic, honey. And so, and I ducked around before Mother could see me seeing. But I think she knew I was there. And so there, I came into being because I got scolded, chastised, criticized. There was some kind of, and I can't quite do it here, there was some kind of fear around my mother, and it might have been anchored with, my mother was had a violent tendency. So she wouldn't spank me like, the normal punishment of the 50s, where you're going to get a spanking. She would do more hideous things like choke me or hold me underwater.
So, Janet, if you were to be back there again and your mother was threatening you in that way and you didn't have to fear any retaliation, what would you say to her? If you're really going to let your feelings out, what would you... Imagine she's here now. Say it now.
I'd say, Mom, let's talk about what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you're seeing ghosts, I'm seeing ghosts, and if we could talk heart to heart, mind to mind, soul to soul, we could figure out, there really are ghosts. Instead of her acting crazy, then we could have put that together. And if my brother hadn't felt that he couldn't talk, and
okay, well let's go back to that.
So that's critical.
So let's. If I were Mom, and we're going to redo the scene and make another scene in your imagination about what could have happened if you had said, Mother, I'm seeing ghosts, and I know you see them too, and can we talk about it? And if I were your mother, and I say, yes, dear, I'm afraid to talk about this to other people because they think I'm crazy. But yes, I see them too. If you had that kind of a conversation, what difference would that have made to your life?
I would have had a completely different life because she couldn't talk about it, and my brother and my sister couldn't talk about it. None of us could talk about it. And if it was today, like today they have all these ghost hunter shows, we probably could have talked about it. We could have had somebody in, like Steven Spielberg did in Poltergeist, and investigate the house and see what was going on. I mean, I would have much more self-confidence.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have developed a intense killer critic.
That's right.
Because when I was facing my reality, what was going on, and having to deny it, it creates a schism. And so I had to, but the positive side is I had to develop a very strong intellect.
Yeah, so we definitely, that's one of the saving protectors that grew out of this trauma.
And so I started researching. Mm-hmm. I started reading everything I could on paranormal, metaphysical phenomenon. So I started with Edgar Cayce. I read all kinds of books on ghosts, and I read science fiction. I read everything outside of the box to try to figure out what in the world was going on in my house.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that you can now think about what really happened when your mother shut you down because with a threat of death, instant violence, which is what really happened to you and what you had to suppress all those years. And then the fantasy that we just had of a mother that could actually discuss this in person to person with you, and just realize that when you feel you might be sanctioned by people by speaking out, or maybe not, that you can clasp your hands together and remember that you have the choice of either staying private about this or speaking out, depending on how your fair witness, your neutral part, sees the situation.
Thank you. And the other thing I wanted to add was the major reason why she was shut down around this phenomenon was because she kept quoting the Bible, where it says, "Thou shalt not consort with spirits."
Wow.
And so Anyway, that got me questioning religion when she would quote those things, and I was having a different reality. I was verifying it with girlfriends who I was, I developed a little investigator. And then finally,
Okay, it sounds like you're back to the aware ego, to the center.
Yes, and I need to take a little break. Can we
Okay,
take a little
well,
break here?
we could, but there's something really important. Okay, break time it is.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Aquarian Radio at aquarianradio.com. My name is Janet Kier Lesson. I'm your host, and our co-host today is Dr. Sasha Lesson. Today's show on Aquarian Radio is an episode of Experiencers Network called Spirits of the Departed. And now back to Dr. Lesson.
So we've been talking about, and Janet's been illustrating, ways to deal constructively with spirits of the departed, how to communicate with the spirit itself and find out what messages it has for you and what you have to say to it, and then to look at and become and embody the part of you that accesses, that allows this the spirit to come in, and find out how that fits into your ecology. And if there's a part of you that says, keep these experiences with spirits private, don't tell anybody or don't tell the wrong people, we ask you to talk to that part and find out what its concerns are and when it came into your existence, and if it was forced into hiding what was the situation that made you have to hide your experiences with spirits, and to what degree does that situation still apply now. It's really important to do that. And then we get to the final point where we have a person identify with their own inner therapist that says, well, what in your life has, in Janet's life in this case, has all this experience with spirits, and they're communicating with you, and especially the experience with Michael Jackson. How has that helped you, or how is it part of the growth of Janet as a whole person?
Well, working with spirits, especially Michael Jackson, has helped me to the realm of the magical, mystical part of existence, and taken me outside of the box, which is very limiting. The physical world box of this is the matrix, and this is what you have to do, and how you have to do it, and why you have to do it, and where you have to do it, and when you have to do it, is very limiting and constraining, and it denies me free will as a being, as a part of existence, as part of the universe. So I am better able to co-create with Source, and I'm connected to Source. So I'm shown the path, where to go beyond this body. I've had 8 near-death experiences. So I'm more in tune with my psychic abilities, and working with discarnates, interdimensionals, extraterrestrials, allows me to access ideas beyond. And so one of my main functions in life is peace.
Oh.
And finding a new paradigm that really respects consciousness and all life and all people and all beings and this planet, this beautiful earth, which is a living being. And so I keep looking, like every day I wake up and I go, there's got to be a way out of this hell right now that's happening for humanity, because most people are struggling. 99% are being dominated by the 1%, and people can't meet their daily needs. They're becoming more and more hostile and angry and separate. Part of my path, knowing Source and Spirit and accessing the spiritual, physical, non-physical realm, is I understand spirituality. And I'm not talking about religion. Religion is dogmatic and keeps us in the box. So these are expansion techniques that take us outside of the box, outside of the matrix, to the awareness that there are other ways of walking in the world and in existence. And so there's other societal systems. Our politics aren't working. None of them. Democracy's not working. Dictatorships, kings. We're looking at, we're watching old, about times 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago. We went through Pillars of the Earth and looking at around 1300, and now we're in 1600, right? 1600s with Henry VIII. And it's the same old story. It's a king, it's a dictator, it's a pharaoh, it's a president, it's a whatever we have, and they don't work. That doesn't work. And democracy is where the majority can overwhelm a minority, and our basic human civil rights are denied by religious zealots that try to enforce their propaganda down other people's throats, and they succeed to the great degree. And so it's a pretty sad state of the union.
Thank you. So, I think that when somebody is a paragon or an example or a model of the way you would want your heart to lead the expression, be it Gandhi or Michael Jackson or something, we call this a uplifting archetype, or Ishideva, a paragon, a model. And so that by allowing yourself to become the voice of Michael Jackson, you are tuned into his message, and you are helping broadcast it even at this moment. What would Michael want to tell everybody?
Well, one of the things that happened by exploring Michael's work is I went into his songs, and he said it a lot in a lot of his songs. And his song was about peace and love and healing the planet, especially through the children. And the children it's where it begins. It's where the split begins, when we're not nurtured enough and we're not encouraged to be individuals and not supported. We don't have our basic needs met. So, and he was very conscious about the environment, and people made fun of him. But when I started watching his YouTubes, I was just blown away, because he really channeled the Christic consciousness, and I'm feeling sad because I was raised Christian, but I can't even identify with Christianity because they march off to war. That was one of the hypocrisies I noticed when I was a child. It's like I was going to Sunday school, and we would sing "Onward, Christian Soldiers," and I go, "What does killing people have to do anything with the message of love and peace?" So I think that Michael has that energy that was started, 2,000 plus years ago, in Jerusalem, in Galilee, and he has embodied it, and it has a more pure tone to it. But even Michael, they were taking his message of love and they were perverting it, and that was his sadness when he died. It's like all he ever intended was to promote love. So maybe there's someone else going to come along. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's you who's listening out there. Maybe it's all of us.
Well, it's really interesting, and each of you out there in web radio land could do this. Picture a model, an Ishideva, a paragon, someone who represents how you could be at your very, very best if you were everything you ever wished you could be. And let's somebody, or even an abstract entity represent that for you. That's the first step. And imagine you identify with, become that entity, that Ishideva, that Messiah, that star. And what is your existence? And for Janet, who had alluded in her, what she was saying to contacting with Source, she would go to Source, whatever it is. Be that now, and notice what your characteristics are. What are your qualities? What are you like when you are that archetype, that paragon, when you're Kuan Yin, when you're the Buddha? And what message do you have, enlightened one? What message do you have for the person that's imaging you or thinking about you right now? He or she is open to receiving that.
So I think what I'd like to end with is, do you have some more to say?
I sure do, honey.
Okay, we're coming up on the hour. So
okay, I'm going to give you a quick thing that you can do at home and do just right now a little bit in your own head, but do it at home and let your dreams take it even further, and that is to think of the spirit of someone that's dead, that's already passed out of this life form, and it could be someone you know or somebody that you don't know. And just imagine that this... And imagining takes you to the right place to really get it. Imagine that this spirit has something to communicate to you, of value to you and the people you love, and that you are able to receive it. There's a part of you that can receive it, and there's also a part of you that protects you, that will keep it private if that's more appropriate for you. And let's notice your dreams, notice what your fantasy is, notice what messages you get, and let us know here on Aquarian Radio. Back to Janet.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today at Aquarian Radio, at aquarianradio.com. just a final word is, for me, I just bring all these archetypes in, and when the world's kind of crazy, and I turn off all the violence for one thing, because that doesn't really serve anything. It certainly programs. You got to watch what you're eating, so to speak. Watch what you're consuming, and whenever you're watching any media or reading it, you're actually feeding your psyche, and you don't want to do that with the wrong stuff. So, thank you very much for joining us today. Aloha, love, and blessings from Maui, Hawaii, on Aquarian Radio and aquarianradio.com. And do go to our website, aquarianradio.com, and check out different articles and YouTubes and other radio episodes. Do you have anything else to say, Dr. Lesson?
This is us. We're not ghostwriters.
Okay. Love and blessings. Aloha.
Thanks for joining us today on Aquarian Radio. We broadcast daily, and our schedule is on aquarianradio.com. Listen live by calling 646-649-0893, or you can listen live by calling 646-649-0893, or listen to our archives on aquarianradio.com. Join us again soon, and do tell your friends. The age of Aquarius and the paradigm of peace is now.
Aloha. This is Enki. You know me as Aquarius. And this is our age, the Sata Yuga. Time to celebrate with us. We have programs on all chakra tantra, love styles and relationship choices, counseling strategies and techniques that you can use at home. We have extraterrestrial radio where we deal with alienology, paranormal people, and we have an experiencers network. We have a section called Ancient Aliens, and the programs therein are Enki Speaks, Nimma, the Mother of Humanity, has her program, and we revise ancient anthropology. And most important of all, we have peace paradigms, because this is the age of peace.
Harmony and understanding, sympathy and trust abounding.
No more falsehoods or derisions. Golden living dreams of visions, mystic crystal revelations, and the mind's true liberation.
And this has been another episode here at aquarianradio.com.
aquarianradio.com.
Harmony and understanding, sympathy and trust abounding. No more falsehoods or derisions, golden living dreams of vision, mystic crystal revelation, and the mind's true liberation. Aquarius,
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in I'm a dreamer. But I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us. And the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.